let's get more on that arrest in Minnesota of the shooting suspect, Vance Boelter, on Sunday. Scripps News Washington correspondent Stephanie Liebergen joins us live from our D.C. newsroom. Good morning, Stephanie. So what do we know? What's the latest?
Hey, good morning, Holly. Well, this morning, as you mentioned, early in the overnight hours is when we saw Vance Boelter get booked, and he now has a $5 million bond, as you mentioned, facing 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of attempted murder. He's had his mugshot taken, and we know that his first court appearance will be at 2:30 this afternoon Eastern time. A big question we don't have an answer to yet is details on what the motive was in this shooting. Of course, with 2 state lawmakers being targeted, it's easy to see how politics could have played a factor here, but that is not something that has been confirmed by law enforcement or by investigators. And it was a hours-long manhunt, almost 2 days over the weekend in Minnesota, as you mentioned, the largest in the state's history. But law enforcement yesterday was able to zero in on a wooded area near the suspect's home after his vehicle was abandoned in the area, and that's where they focused the search yesterday. There were officers on foot. There were helicopters in the air trying to track him down, and ultimately, once they did, he crawled out of the woods and did surrender himself to police. Once the manhunt was over, we heard from Senator Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota thanking law enforcement for their effort over the weekend. We also heard from Governor Tim Walz, who also thanked law enforcement, noting that they had to spend time away from their families over the Father's Day weekend. But Walz also shared some more thoughts and information about the victims in this case, the former Minnesota House Speaker and her husband, of course, and the state senator and his wife. Take a listen.
Multiple agencies were there as FBI laid hands on it and Minnesota State Patrol put the handcuffs on. One man's unthinkable actions have altered the state of Minnesota. Melissa Hortman was the core of who our values were. She had a hand in so many things that happened. The building that we stand in, she helped usher through so that we could respond from the State Emergency Operations Center with the professionalism and giving the tools necessary to law enforcement to do their job. To Melissa and Mark's family, I cannot fathom your pain and the grief that you're going through.
Now, as I mentioned, the next thing we're looking forward to in this case is that first court hearing for the suspect. Again, Holly, that's at 2:30 Eastern time this afternoon.
And Stephanie, have we heard anything from the White House or other elected officials, other congressmen and women this weekend after that tragedy?
We haven't heard much outside of what we got in the immediate aftermath of the manhunt, and thanking, of course, the law enforcement agencies, both federal and state, involved in that manhunt and trying to bring him into police custody. So haven't gotten any other really major reactions yet. I think a lot of lawmakers are likely to hear more today, not only about this case, but other big things happening, the Israel and Iran conflict that has been going on. So a lot of things that lawmakers are likely keeping their eyes on this morning, but no big updates yet related to this Minnesota case.
Thank you so much. Scripps News Washington correspondent Stephanie Liebergen with that update for us. Thanks, Steph.